One of the things I like about making art is just, you know, it ain't over till it's over. You don't really know what it's going to be until it's finished. Most things I get to a point about halfway through where I can tell it's the ugliest, worst thing I've ever done and I have no idea how I'm going to fix it. And then I just keep working and it always comes out, almost always comes out where I'm pretty happy with it. And then it feels like magic, right? This one, which is called The Anatomy Text, Anxiety. Ta-da! It's interesting because I have a friend who said of this, you know, I don't feel like this is your best thing. Like, I don't really get this. It's not my favorite image. And I said, then obviously you don't have this kind of anxiety, because I have several people who were like, oh my God, that's exactly what it feels like. This one is two of my sisters. Their families co-own a cabin and a lot of land in the Rocky Mountains outside of Estes Park. And in the Cameron Peak fire last October, their cabin burned down. And one of my sisters hiked up to the site and sent me a huge box of ash and charcoal, which I used to make pictures of the cabin for both families, and also for my dad who helped them build it. This one I'm so fond of. This is my mom's high school picture. And so what I like about it now is, to me, it looks like a movie poster for a 1960s sci-fi film. And she's like the naive chemistry teacher who, a friend of mine says, stumbles across aliens eating the football team under the bleacher. It's kind of what gave me the idea to make fake movie posters about like my life or whatever. Then I had this poem that I thought I wanted to write called What the Cat Knew and When She Knew It. And then I drew a large version of it. Then I traced it onto the tracing paper. And I flipped the paper and traced it onto the lino block. And I'm going to print it now, and it's the first printing. See, it's the best part. Every part's the best part. This is my test more about the little line drawings and the size of the narrow text, the lighting on the cat. I feel pretty good about that. I had a little sketch of this guy climbing up the wall to a window, and I traced it with tracing paper, and then I put it on the lino. So now what I'm going to do is carve away everything that is not black. So I just carve like around things. This is, I think, my favorite part of doing lino is the carving. My mom made this family photo album for everybody for Christmas, and so I just traced the outlines of various relatives and ancestors and then put them on these blocks. It's my grandmother and my dad. Let's do the blues guy because I want to see how he turns out on this paper. Put a blob of ink. And then dip it just a little, and they say it's the sound that tells you. It doesn't sound wet, it sounds velvety. All right, so we're gonna see what he looks like when we do him on some of my little leftover roller paper scraps. See if that works. With these guys, the hard thing I find is just keeping the paper on the tiny little block. So let's see. Not too bad. I'm gonna do another because I want to try it on the yellow, and then we'll do a different one. So I'm putting yellow paper on it. I'm pushing down so it doesn't shift. Ooh, see? I like it with the yellow. The first time we came to Bisbee, we went to Contessa's and sat out on the balcony and looked up, and there were like 60 vultures flying over the hill, and I'd never seen that before, and it was amazing. This has been a black and white print that I hand colored with colored pencils. I carved afterwards exactly what you see here. I had yellow and red and a little bit of blue on the printing plate, and you end up with this really nice gradation. I want it to be inky enough. So lining that up the best I can in the 4 to 6. And this on the 5 by 7, but then truthfully I also do it by eye, kind of. My background is as someone who always considered herself a writer, and when I was I always felt like artistic ability was a form of magic, and that the world was kind of like the Harry Potter world, where you were either an artist or you were a muggle, and you could not acquire artistic ability if you were not born with it. And then when I was teaching, I wanted to draw life-size animals for my kids to paint so that they could get a sense of how big certain animals were. Like a yak is way bigger than you think. I had to draw it outside, and it took like 2 6-foot pieces of butcher paper just to get his height and everything. But I used the grid on the floor to do that, and then they came out looking nice. So I bought Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain by Betty Edwards, which I highly recommend. And it taught me a lot more about looking and drawing. I'm self-taught in everything I do. So I have lots of books about colored pencil and painting and sumi painting. In terms of lino cut, the books I have, I would say, this is White Collar by Giacomo Patri. This is a book about the Great Depression. It is all lino cut plates. There is no text. In the 30s, this would have been a lot of work. This is a lot of plates. This book, Lino Cut by Nick Morley. There's a couple guys in here. This guy, Zach Medler, he does wheat pasting street art. And look at this guy, Steve Edwards. That's etching in the background. It's got a little more of that like painterly freedom, but then also the carving. So I'm very excited to try the etching and see if I can replicate some of that. Can you see that print? With the ferns. And then look, she does these huge trees too. In terms of paper mache, my biggest influence is Dan Reeder, who is a Seattle-based paper mache artist, and he's just amazing. I have Mrs. Peter P. Pumpkin Eater Makes Her Escape, which is a woman climbing out of a pumpkin house. And then upstairs, I have a toddler calavera skeleton painting her own face, looking in a mirror, sitting on a pallet. I did a Mr. Tumnus statue. And I could see all the ways I hadn't planned. He had no belly button, like little things that almost sound silly, but I got all caught up in it. And then at the end, he ended up looking creepy and delightful, which is kind of exactly what I would hope. And I was happy with it. I did so much art in 2020. That is really how it impacted me. The lockdown, the school was closed for 4 months, and I think I spent, well, it was closed right when it was time to do the Global Art Project for Peace, which is a really big thing for me. It was started by Catherine Jostin up in Tucson, and it matches you with another participant somewhere else in the world. They have more US participants than other countries, so for US participants, they generally alternate. So 1 year you'll be matched with a US participant, and then the next year you'll get an international match, and it's every 2 years. In March 2020, the lockdown came, and I was trying to think about a piece of art that I could do, and I decided to do a little tiny, it turned out to be a pop-up book, a little tiny book, because the book felt really intimate. I mean, I just did a ridiculous amount of stuff. You know, if I make something for somebody else, then it's part of a conversation, I guess, I'm having with them in some way. But it's mostly, I love you.